welcome to Right Brain Thinking in the Left Brain World with Monica Sepulveda of Monica.com, and that's with 2 N's. I'm Inessa, the co-host of this show. Monica has an amazing website that has so many tools that you can use to help yourself, basically. There are so many interactive sections, especially one of them that really caught my eye. It's called Checkup from the Neck Up, which I'll ask Monica about a bit later. Also, I'd like to remind everyone that we've changed the format of this show, and we know that you will agree that this format is probably much more better. So the first 90 minutes will consist of a lecture and lessons, interactive exercises. In the last part, or the last 30 minutes, Monica will do readings. She will speak to only 3 or 4 of you because she now spends more time with each caller. Monica, why did you decide to spend more time with the caller? Wouldn't you want to give intuitive therapy readings and predictions to more callers?
No, actually, a lot of people have been mistakenly calling me a psychic, and psychics usually give readings one after another. I'm an intuitive therapist, which means I look at the person's challenge, I see why it's happening, what they need to do to change it, and then give them the tools and the solution and then the predictions if they do those things. So it takes much longer to do what I do, and I prefer to give a person a thorough reading so that they have comprehension and they have the tools that they need to help themselves. If I just did predictions, it doesn't really add value. It's kind of like cheating on a test. You already know what's going to happen. But I think that we all go through the same thing. So even the person that's viewing and can't get through, they're going to get a lot of value from listening to a person's consultation with me, because we all go through the same things at different times, right?
Yes, and as a reminder to viewers, all questions can be about the lessons or about your life. If your question is about you, we will need your first name and birthday. If your question is about your partner, we will need your birthday and your partner's birthday as well. So we're repeating the format and guidelines to you today because many of you possibly have missed the first 2 lessons. However, you can find the videos on YouTube. So just go to youtube.com, type in The People's Voice, Right Brain Thinking in a Left Brain World. So Monica, this is our 3rd lesson. What are we going to learn today?
Okay, well, as you know, the first 2 lessons were really intense because I did the guided visualizations. And of course, you know that you felt very high from it. And
yes, indeed.
It. I know. And with the last one, creating your mental laboratory, that was the most important lesson. So if a person missed last week's, they should really catch that on YouTube. Creating your mental laboratory is so functional, and we're going to be using it in the future. So I don't know if you used it this week or not, Inessa. Did you give it a shot again? I know that you're super busy, but taking time for ourselves is the highest priority.
Yes, I gave it a shot. I didn't spend too much time in there, although I wish I did. This week indeed has been very busy for me. So I hope tomorrow I'm off, so I hope to spend some more time relaxing and spending time on me and doing those exercises.
Even if you do 5 minutes, that's plenty. The key is to regroup and stay in a place of peace. I'm going to be covering emotions today, symbolism, and dream analysis. So people can even call in with their dreams if they want me to interpret the dreams, because I've done dream analysis for probably 30 years.
Wow, that sounds really exciting. I can't wait for the dream analysis as well.
Well, it goes together with symbolism. They go hand in hand.
Great.
Yeah.
So, Monica.
Yes.
What shall we start with?
Okay, well, one of the things I wanted to do was if a person missed the first 2 lessons, I wanted them to see whether they have more right brain, left brain, which one is dominant, or if they're both balanced. So if you remember, we did the thumb over the thumb.
Yes.
And I have the right one over the left one. And then remember what you did, everyone watching, and then also the arm over the arm. Now this time I have the left one over the right one. So if you have right and left like I did, that means that you're using both hemispheres very balanced. If you have right and then right, well, see, I can't even do it. If you try to do it the opposite way, it's really impossible. That means that I'm being more left brain. So if a person gets 2 rights than the more left brain, which is linear, logical, and they're more practical minded. If a person gets the left twice, then that means that they are too right-brained, which can make them overly sensitive or emotional. The key is to balance, and the way to do that is when you're standing in line in the queue, as you call it, and if you're too right-brained, then shift all your body weight to the right side of your body, because the right brain controls the left side of the body and the left brain controls the right side of the body. So if you find yourself being too emotional, then then shift all your body weight to the right side. If you find yourself being too linear, shift your body weight over to the left side, and get used to picking up things with that opposite hand. And that'll cause it to trigger that brain, that hemisphere, and it'll help you balance it. It really makes a difference. It's so simple too. So that's one of the things I wanted to share again, because I like when people really do this with their children, so they can see whether their child is overly emotional, overly sensitive, or if they're very intuitive, or if they're too linear, too logical. It's good to have both. You have to have negative and positive hooked up in your battery in the car in order for it to work, right? You can't just use one. You have to use both. So in life we have to use both as well, because the left brain stores information that we know. Otherwise we wouldn't know that 2 and 2 equals 4. We would forget it. So we have to do that. One of the things I wanted to talk about today was that our emotions are the ones that really sabotage us. It really, really sabotages us. There's a tendency for them to slip into negative so quickly because people are getting bombarded by, those what I call evildoers, and they keep us enslaved in fear, worry, and self-doubt. Those are the big three. However, I do have a list of emotions that really a person should be really, aware of. So I would say the most destructive habit is worry. The greatest joy is giving. The greatest loss is loss of self-respect. And a lot of people do that. The most satisfying work is helping others. The ugliest personality trait is selfishness. The most endangered species is dedicated leaders. Our greatest natural resource is our youth. The greatest shot in the arm is encouragement. The greatest problem to overcome is fear. I would put fear as number one. I always say it's false evidence appearing real. And it's a choice. We don't have to fear at all. We can let it go, because fear is an absence of love. And love creates all things positive and loving. The most effective sleeping pill is peace of mind. And I've always said before, like I said last week, when we're in the future tense, when we have anxiety, we're in the future tense. When we're worried and depressed, we're in the past tense. But when we have peace of mind, we're in the now. So the key is to stay in the moment, in the now, because that's what will allow us to access our intuition, which is what we want. And of course, I'm going to cover symbolism, which is going to help a person develop a symbol list so that they are receiving information constantly about what they need to do next in their life. The most crippling failure disease is excuses. Isn't that true?
That is so true.
Yeah, the most powerful force in life is love, period. That's the only thing that's real. Everything else, as David says, is an illusion. The most dangerous pariah is the gossiper. And oh my gosh, sometimes people post the nastiest things, and then they get each other going and they gossip, and then they make up these things. That is dangerous, and it only hurts the person that's sending it out. So one of the things I'm very aware of is not to go into judgment. People are entitled to their opinions, whatever they believe. We all have differences, and there's nothing wrong with that. The most incredible computer is the brain. This is a biocomputer.
Yep.
It stores everything literally. So you can't even joke by saying, oh my God, I almost died, because that records in there literally. The brain does not have a sense of humor. So it is our biocomputer. The worst thing to be without is hope. The deadliest weapon is the tongue. Hello? There's a lot of people out there with those sharp tongues, and it only bounces right back and comes back to you. So you're not hurting the target. You're only hurting yourself. I wouldn't want that karma. So the most popular filled words is I can. The greatest asset is faith. And we have to have faith, because the opposite of faith is worry. And worry absolutely has no value. The most worthless emotion is self-pity. Oh my gosh, as a counselor and with all my clients, I've done over 60,000 readings in 43 years. I hear so many excuses and so many poor me's, but it's almost like a martyrdom. What I usually say is something that makes them laugh because it wakes them up, and I always say, "Hey, get off the cross. We need the wood." So,
That's a good sense of humor. I like that.
well, it's letting them know.
And
Hello.
reality check too.
Exactly, exactly. The most beautiful attire is a smile. And sometimes people are so into whatever's going on in their life. If we just smile more to people, it also not only makes our day, but it makes their day too. Because maybe they're going through something difficult. And even if they don't smile back at you, you will have touched their heart. And that's a good way to open the heart, because a lot of people don't trust any longer and they have this wall over their heart. So the best way to do it is just to start being kind and to, give a compliment to someone. Maybe you don't even know them. Maybe you're in the grocery store picking out bananas, and all of a sudden someone's next to you and just say, "Oh my gosh, that's a really lovely outfit." And it's nice to do things like that with a smile. It makes the biggest difference in the world. It also makes us more approachable because it expands our aura. And we will talk about aura reading, by the way, in one of the future lessons. We're going to combine it with sound and color therapy and aura reading. That's really a trip. Anyway, the most prized possession is integrity. Always be honest, because when we lie, we can't keep track of our lies and our stories can change. So not a good idea. And it's a value that's the most important value as well. The most powerful channel of communication is prayer. But what is prayer? Prayer doesn't have to be the prayers we learn through churches and religions. They're just a series of positive words that you send out to the source, your higher power, the universe, God, a spirit, the I am, love. You send out those words, they're heard. One of the things I learned is when we communicate for the first time with our higher power and we need some things in our lives, you only ask one time. And then after that, you give thanks for it. And then it manifests really fast, because every time we go from, into gratitude and we're grateful for what we have already, it starts to multiply. This is a good way of increasing your income, people that are watching, because when you're grateful, you get more. And the last one is the most contagious spirit is enthusiasm. A lot of people are bored with their jobs, and enthusiasm comes from the word entheo, which means God within. So, that's kind of a clue, don't you think?
Sounds great, Monica. Just wanted to add on about the gossip that what you judge, you become, or you are attracted into your life. So whatever you judge, be careful. You will either become it or you will attract it to you in one way or another. That's what I found from personal experience too.
Oh yeah, absolutely, Inessa. And especially anger, which is the most vile. People think that when they're sending out anger to someone, that it's going to damage that person, when it actually damages the vessel where it came from. So, talk about creating a life that's going to bite you in the butt, because the karma is really manifesting very quickly. It's not a good idea to throw your anger out at other people, but we must get rid of it. We can do it through processing, through going to the mental laboratory and getting rid of it there. There's other ways of getting rid of emotions, and one of the most effective ways for me to do that is to visualize an emotion coming from my stomach area, which is the abdominal region, which is the third chakra that has to do with emotions. That's where they're kept. So I always visualize it coming up and shaping into a ball. And normally when I look at the color, it's usually like black and gray and really like mud. And so what I do is I say, because one of the things that Einstein said is that we can't create energy, we can't destroy energy, but we can convert energy. So what I do is I look at that ball and I say that, okay, that's all my emotions that came out of me. And remember, in lesson 1, we actually went through a process where we let that stuff go as well. That's a really good lesson if a person missed it. And so what I do is I visualize the ball, and I give it this color, which is muddy. And then because the heart chakra is green, and green represents life, I immediately infuse it with green. Because Einstein said you cannot create energy, you cannot destroy it, but you can convert it. And since we can use color or even sound to change frequency, you can fuse in that color of green, or the color pink, which is universal love, but green is the color of healing in the heart. And so I see the ball becoming green, and then what I do, because I'm so passionate about animals, is I actually send that energy to the nearest animal hospital. I visualize it going through the roof, and when it goes through the roof, it turns into this green glitter. I'm a girly girl, and I love glitter. So it turns into green glitter, and then it goes into the pets, and it heals them. So you can send it to a hospital, animal shelters, animal any person that you know who might be ill. You can send it actually back to yourself if you want to, or just to the planet, because the planet needs to have the frequency changed so often because of all the bombardment we get with all the negativity. So that's one of the things I do with emotions. And you know, it's sometimes, I don't know if you've ever had this experience, you wake up and you just don't feel right. You feel either sad, or you feel worried, or you feel afraid, and you don't know where it came from, but it's there.
Yeah, I'm sure everyone has that, had that moment sometime.
Okay, here's what you do with that. Understand, do not freak out or try to analyze it. Whatever's within us needs to get out. So when it's coming up, all you have to do is just say, oh, okay, this was within me, so I guess I need to let this go now, and then do the process I just showed you. But don't freak out and try to analyze it, or get busy and do something else and repress it and shove it back down, because that's like preventing a bowel movement. You know what I mean?
Constipated emotions.
Yeah, you don't want to keep that toxins and those poisons within you, because emotions like that are toxic and poison, and that's what creates disease. Dis-ease. D-I-S-E-A-S-E. Did I spell it right? Yeah.
Yes, not being at ease.
And not a lack of ease. So what happens is we need to let those go, and they do come up from time to time. The reason why is because love brings up anything unlike itself to be healed. So it's going to bring up all that old garbage, and instead of tripping on it, just say, okay, that was within me, so I have to let it go now. But I'm going to charge it full of love, and I'll send it out to the planet. And all this love will then be converted, because I can do this. So one of the things you want to do is to, when you wake up in the morning, just say, okay, now I'm going to connect my heart to the most powerful link, which would be spirit, the I am God, whatever you want to call it, the universe, and immediately allow love to come back and replace that. Love brings up anything like itself to be healed, because love is like Roto-Rooter, as we have here. That's when it cleans out those clogged pipes, you know, and you can't flush. I mean, you can't drain. The drain's clogged, so because it's got hair and all this stuff in it. Well, it's called Roto-Rooter here. So it acts like a Roto-Rooter, and it clears out all the old stuff that's incompatible. And some things go way, way back to maybe 20 or 25 years. Just like if you got, you know, a colon cleanse, it would clean out all that fecal matter for the last 20 years. You feel so clean, and this makes you feel clean too. So let it do its thing. Let it come up and let it bring up the old energy and let it go, because that's all that's happening here. So don't freak out. Don't analyze it. I don't know about you, but you know, when I flush the toilet, I mean, when I go to the bathroom, I flush the toilet. I don't analyze my poop. You know,
You don't.
I don't. Well, why? You know, I mean, it's just toxins and poisons leaving our body. That's what's happening. It's cleansing itself. So it also cleanses itself emotionally, and people don't get it. Most people stay with the emotions, and that causes a lot of pain. And pain wasn't created for us to suffer. But when we stay with pain too long, we suffer. And that's not the point. The point is that pain is trying to get our attention so that we make changes. Isn't it interesting that when we cut our hand, it hurts? So what do we do with it? Do we sit there and stare at it? No. We actually put some ointment on it, antibiotic, and maybe a Band-Aid or something, and we treat it immediately. But why do we stay with emotional pain? That doesn't make sense to me. So we have to let that go immediately. So that's why we have to take time for ourselves and put ourselves at the top of our priority list. And why is that important? Because then we become better parents, better mates, better teachers, better people, better work. It changes all of us. We're better at everything that we do. So people say, but isn't that selfish? Well, yeah, but in a good way. It's a priority, actually. But a lot of people still have a habit of putting other people before themselves, and then they're exhausted. They're completely tapped out of energy, and they don't take care of themselves. That's a mistake. If you flip the script, life changes. That makes sense, right?
Totally. And I find when you spend much more time on yourself, working on yourself and giving that priority time to yourself, you actually have much more energy to give to your friends, your family, or whatever needs your attention.
Yeah. You know, a lot of people also have difficulty distinguishing what's intuitive, what's intellect, and I'm going to give you a really good pointer on this. Intuition is the one that gives you ideas, and it tells us what we need to do next. However, sometimes because people are more left brain, they tend to analyze the idea and then they talk themselves right out of it. So if the idea said, write a book, and then all of a sudden your intuition can't tell you a lie because it doesn't know how to lie. So it only tells you what you're capable of doing. So it can't say to you, it won't say to me, you're going to be a rocket scientist, because I won't. So it's only going to tell me what I'm capable of doing. So it doesn't lie. But what people do is then they follow up that intuitive guideline and that message, and they go, yeah, but okay, I could write a book, but who's going to publish it? Will it sell? What if it fails? You know, people start asking the what ifs, and that completely sabotages. And then what happens after we do the intellectual kind of talking ourselves out of that idea, then the emotions kick in and we start to freak out and worry and fear, and then there goes the idea. So a lot of people need to understand that when you get an idea, that means that you're capable of doing whatever you received, and write it down and take action rather than analyze it. That's really important, because when a person starts to do that and gets used to it, and especially if you write down the idea that you received, your intuition is going to start giving you much more information. And we need to become more right brain, because the left brain is really basically, like David said to me one time, it's been hijacked. The planet's been hijacked. And I think that control over our left brain has been too dominant for so long that they don't want us to be at peace. Because when we're at peace, we can access that right brain. So we need to do that, which is hence the name of the show, Right Brain Thinking in a Left Brain World. Once we turn that around and each of us takes care of our space, keep our emotions in a place where we're peaceful and deal with them appropriately, because when we repress emotions, it will escalate to anger. And, you know, we'll tell someone to, you know, F off or whatever, you know, and that's not good, because people get damaged by words. You know, people do get scars by words. They're just as bad as hitting somebody. It makes a deep scar, and that's not okay.
I totally agree. If I ever feel effed off, I just try to shut myself up and not say anything until I resolve that inner battle or the storm, and then I'm okay, then I can communicate. But I just learned that it's better, if you're angry, just don't waste your energy talking, because you'll regret it.
Yeah, just do a little process. Excuse yourself, go to the bathroom for about 3 minutes, and let it all out the way I showed you at the beginning with that little ball, because it doesn't take that long to do it. If you have more time, do the grounding technique in lesson 1, and you can do that one in 5 minutes, because both of them work really well. The people carry a lot of shit, you know? Oh my God, I swore it's past 9 o'clock, so I can. So,
hallelujah.
I'm criticized for that too, so I don't give a fuck.
Me neither. I don't give a fuck either. What a freedom to say that, isn't it?
Oh my gosh, it's so crazy. So anyway, one of the things I wanted to do was, I'm going to run some tests through. I'm not going to do a visualization meditation or a guidance this time around. We're going to do a lot of interactive work. So people need to get paper and pen for today's lessons, because you're going to be doing a lot of writing. We're going to be testing to see how intuitive you are in terms of whether you are a person who can hear, see, or feel more than the other. I'm clairaudient, so I hear information, but then I also get a lot of symbols, because a picture speaks 1,000 words. So we're going to go into symbolization or symbolism, symbolization. I think I got that word. Hello. Oh my God.
I always make up words, don't worry.
Symbolism, and of course that connects us into, in part 3, to dream analysis. And you're going to find it to be really, really an interesting thing. One of the things I'm going to be showing you, because I'm going to send information to each one of you telepathically, but they're going to be different categories. They're going to be symbols, they're going to be emotions, and then they're going to be actual pictures that I'll send to you. And I have them all in these cards right here. Okay, and once I do this test, which we're going to do in part 2, which is the next half hour, because this takes a while to do, but it's really worth it. You'll be able to see, you know, exactly where you are at this point in time. Now, people tend to be hard on themselves. That's the last frontier, I believe, in this incarnation, is being kind to yourself, being loving to yourself. Too many people still berate themselves, and that definitely disconnects us from the source. Anytime we get on our case we're not connecting to love. We're disconnecting from it. So we're actually, that love is always there for us, but we choose to disconnect because of the way we treat ourselves. And I found in all the years of my counseling that the biggest damage people do is to be hard on themselves. But one of the best remedies to turn that around is to get a picture of yourself when you were a little boy or a little girl, the younger the better, and go in a room by yourself and talk to that picture telepathically and ask it, am I hard on you? Am I criticizing you too much? And listen for the response. You feel like you're making this up, but you're actually not. You're receiving, because all of us are receivers. And then ask that child, did you reincarnate to have this kind of life? And it's going to tell you, no. Why are you treating me this way? You're so hard on me. And so that, we have to do is actually apologize to that child, because it still lives within us. And then what you do is simply commit to that child, which is you, that you're going to make sure that every day is the best day possible, that you're going to make sure that you get your needs taken care of, that you love yourself, that you even praise yourself. And then have that picture framed and keep it next to your bed. So when you wake up in the morning, you can look at that little picture and say, hey, beautiful, or hey, good looking, look at your sparkly eyes. We're going to have a great day today. And that's a good reminder. It's easier to do it that way with a picture of ourselves as a child as opposed to looking in the mirror. That's harder to do because we won't believe that. But for some reason, we have more compassion for children. I mean, sometimes the way people treat themselves, they wouldn't treat a child that way. That's called abuse. So this is a form of self-abuse, and that disconnects us from the source. Thus, it disconnects us from our intuition. That's a process. You got to try that, Inessa. It's really good.
Oh, I have tried it, and I ended up sobbing, and my child just told me off big time.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Wow. Yes.
So I had to, promise, I promise, I really, really promise I won't do it again.
Yeah. The child needs to hear the apology.
I did, yeah.
And a lot of people actually criticize their children so much that I find a lot of my clients then become hard on themselves for that reason, because they were criticized too much, and they try to become perfectionists, and therefore they become a human doing instead of a human being.
Yeah.
So emotions are really important to monitor them almost, I would say, on a daily basis. And the best way to get out of a funk is to just write the word joy and tape it someplace on your refrigerator, on your bathroom mirror, someplace, joy, and smile. The thing about life is everything's a choice, and it changes like that. You can be going in this direction, all of a sudden you make a decision, and boom, now you're here instead of here. And it happens that quickly. So I would suggest for people to do what I call conscious living. Be aware of their emotions and immediately, filter them, let them go appropriately, and you'll be surprised at how much life changes so quickly. But because you're adding so much love into your life, they're going to come up very quickly. Like I said, Roto-Rooter, it's going to be like emotional diarrhea. Sorry for the visual.
This is so interesting, Monica, but the time is flying by and we need to go for a quick commercial break. Don't forget, we will be taking live calls for the last 30 minutes of the show. You can call us on 020-3714-2700, and if you are calling from outside of the UK, it's +44 20 3714 2700. See you soon. Welcome back, Monica of Monica.com. You're watching the new format for right brain thinking in a left brain world. So, Monica.
Yes.
I found it really fascinating talking with you and talking about the picture of yourself, when you looking at the picture of yourself, little you, and forgiving yourself. I find it really actually helpful.
Oh my gosh, you have no idea. When a person does this, have your tissue ready because you're going to need it. It's a very emotional experience. Another one that you can do that works so well. I mean, this one is really, really a good, I've been doing this one since probably 1985. And what you do is you buy a balloon that's filled with helium, but you get the ones made of latex, not the ones that are made of that mylar, the silver ones. And because they don't carry the helium as long. So when you buy the ones made of latex, pick one in your favorite color. And on the back, when you write on it, get one of those felt tip pens, you know, the ones that are really heavy markers. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so get one of those, and what you do is on one side of the balloon, you're going to write down everything that you want to let go of. This is your letter to the universe, and this is one of the things you're going to ask. I'm choosing to now let go of fear, worry, self-doubt, any kind of feelings of insecurity or worthlessness, deservability. I choose to let that go, and I would like your help with that. And on the other side of the balloon, write down every single goal that you want to happen for 1 year. Then you go outside and you actually release the balloon on a clear day so you can see it. And then what you do is, as it's moving away from you, you keep thinking about the things that you're letting go as it's moving away from you, and start visualizing the things that you want to have in your life. And then when you can't see it any longer, just all you do, and this is what I do, I just go, okay, it is done. I'm finished, and I completely trust 100%. I just dropped something, sorry. I trust 100% everything that I've written on there, and I know I'm going to be receiving help. When you have a visual that's that powerful, one of the things that it does is it actually causes you to remember to do these things much more. So with that said, I'm going to start testing people. And I'm going to test, I hope you have your pen and paper, because you need to write this stuff down. You need to write down your answers. Even though I don't have the ability to hear back from each one of you, you'll be able to see how you're doing. The most important when you take these little tests, because people go into freak out mode anytime they're taking a test. I mean, like, we all drive. We know how to drive. But then when it's time to take that driver's test again, like maybe every 10 years, for some reason we go wacky, okay? Now, I'm going to teach you something, a way not to get, too fearful when you take tests and get too much into your left brain. We look at eye patterns. When we look down or our body's slumped, we tend to then access emotions. Notice when people are depressed, they're looking down, and their body is slumped and they walk slow. They look depressed. But if we look up and actually forward and walk in, and even bring our chin out a little bit, walk faster and breathe deeper, we actually start to feel better. I mean, they did research in the University of San Francisco that showed that when you change your thinking, it changes your physiology, but when you change your physiology, it changes your thinking. So they're basically linked. And so what happens is that when we are taking any kind of test, this is a little bonus here, immediately look up and to the right and see if the answer comes back. Then, if it doesn't, go look up and to the left and see if the answer comes to you, because some people are right-handed and some people are left-handed. So it works opposite with each one. I'm left-handed. So when I'm thinking about something from the past, I immediately look up and to the right. And so if you really study this, you can tell when someone's lying to you, because if you ask them questions that you know that they know the answers, like what color house did you have when you were growing up? They'll go like this: oh yeah, it was tan. And then when you ask them a question where they're making it up, they're going to look in the opposite direction. That's when you know that they're lying to you. Isn't that cool?
That is so cool.
I know. So when you're taking your test, look down, read the question, and immediately look up, and your brain is going to access the answer. So that's a way of getting rid of those fear every time we take tests. So the reason why I'm saying that now is because you're going to get a test. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the primary colors, and I'm going to telepathically send it to you. I'll say number 1 is, and then I'll visualize it in my mind. I'm going to send it to you, and you write it down immediately. Don't even take a moment, just a nanosecond to write down the answer. So I'm either going to show you this color, I'll send it to you telepathically, or I'm going to send you this color, or I'm going to send you this color. Okay, this is blue. All right, so let's go ahead and get started now. And Inessa, if you want to play along, go right ahead. Okay, don't worry about it. Just pretend that you're having fun like a kindergartner, and we're just going to play. All right, don't get heavy about this. All you have to do is when I send you the thought, immediately look up and receive. And then as soon as you get the color, write it down on a piece of paper. So you all ready to go?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm now looking at the first color, and I'm sending it now. And Inessa, you tell me when you're ready.
Yeah.
Okay, And I'm now sending the next color. And some of you might get a picture. I mean, if you see a particular color, you might see something that is that color. Okay, you ready?
Yep.
Okay, the last color, I'm sending that now. Ready?
Yep.
Okay, so here's what we did. I'm first of all testing your ability as a telepath to receive information. We all are receivers. We don't really think of things. We receive information constantly. So if we look at that, you'll be able to, oh yeah, I'm a receiver. Why am I a receiver? Because I'm carbon-based. And carbon-based is a lower form of crystalline. And crystals, what is when they built television sets and radios, they always use crystals to amplify. So it's actually an amplifier. And a lot of people, when they get into like crystals, they go out and buy a clear crystal. And we'll talk about that later when we talk about, you know, other subjects. But crystals amplify thoughts. So if you're in a bad mood, you don't want to be carrying a crystal with you because it's only going to make you more pissed off. So what you do is leave it home and bring something like a citrine because that calms us down. It calms down the nervous system. So, okay, so let's go through and I'll tell you what colors I showed first. The first color I showed you was blue. The second color I showed you was red. The third color I showed you was yellow. So how did you do, Inessa?
I did. The first one was blue, but then I did change it, and I put yellow instead.
See that?
So first idea was blue, and then I started thinking, oh no, because I'm wearing blue today, I feel blue. Maybe it's just me thinking blue because I'm wearing blue.
Now, isn't that interesting how your intellect took over so quickly?
Yeah, sabotage myself. So the second color I got was red.
Okay.
And then obviously the mind thought, well, I already had yellow, so it must be blue, the last one.
Okay. Now, see, that's where the intellect, that's
Yeah.
a very good example. I'm so glad you're being a student when we do this because you're actually saying the same things that a lot of people are thinking. That, okay, I got this first, but then I changed it. You know, I remember one time, oh my God, I made a fool of myself. Do you remember, no, I don't think you know who it is. It's Uri Geller. He's a person that first became very famous with his abilities to bend spoons and whatever. I had a chance to spend some time with him, but he brought me up on stage and he was projecting a color into my mind and I actually saw it, but then I said, no, it can't be that. That's too obvious. So then I changed it and I said something else. He said, no, Monica, it was blue. And I said, okay, I did see blue. That was the first thing I got. But then I thought, no, that's too obvious, you know? And so I learned a lesson back then that the intellect at that point in time tends to take over just like that. It happens so quickly that we don't even realize it. So this is a good illustration of how the first thing that you see, you could actually, like yellow, you could have seen the sun. That's still giving you the color yellow. Mm. And so what you want to do is immediately start paying attention to the first thing that comes through, but doesn't it happen quickly?
Yeah, and I got blue even before you said you're thinking about it. I thought, oh, but it must be because the last envelope you showed, you said blue, and you actually said blue, and I thought, no, I'm thinking too early. But
okay, so we're going to move on to another test. I'm going to be using 5 different shapes. And what I want you to do, I'm going to show you the shapes. They're going to look like either this, or like this, or like this, or like that. Oh, I'm sorry, there's one more. Or like that. So what's going to happen is I've got them inside of these envelopes, okay? And what we're going to do is I'm going to start with the first one. And you remember what those shapes look like. So I'm going to look at what's inside this envelope and see what is there. Okay, I see what's there. Okay, so I'm going to telepathically now send you one of those symbols. And I want you to look at, you don't have to get the exact one, even if you get points, or if you get circles, or if you get, you know, maybe even an image that has certain patterns. write down whatever you receive, okay? So we're not using color right now. We're using these symbols that I just showed you. As a reminder, really quickly, squiggly lines, cross, square, circle, star, okay? So we're going to start right now, and I'm going to look at the image that's in here. I see what it is, and now I'm going to send that image to you. And Anessa, when you have written it down, then you let me know.
Yep.
Okay, great. Moving on to the second one. Now don't freak out. Remember, just look up and you'll receive the answer quickly. Okay, I saw what's in the envelope. I'm now sending this picture to you.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, we're looking at the next one now. And see what's inside this envelope. Okay, I'm going to send that image to you.
Yep.
Okay, now number 4, I'm looking at this image. Okay. I'm sending that to you now.
Yeah.
And then finally, the last one. I'm looking at that one.
Okay.
Great. Okay, so let's go over this real quickly so we can see what we got. Okay, the first image I sent to you was actually, and I'm taking it out so you can see, this is in number 1, was a star. If you got any kind of points anywhere or any kind of shapes like that, that's fine. It doesn't have to be exact. I'm just getting you to look at shapes. What was your number 1? Anessa?
The lines, the
Squiggly?
waves, yeah.
The waves? Okay. So were they sharp or were they wiggly?
I just saw the image you showed me, that's all.
Okay. All right. Let's go to number 2. And number 2 was the square.
Nah.
What did you get?
The star.
Maybe you're in delay. Let's try another video.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You might be picking up later. Okay. Do you remember that we had a circle?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have it next. I have it next. Yeah, I got the one right. Yeah.
I actually sent 2 images at the same time. I looked at the circle, and then I also sent a smiley face.
Oh.
Some people will have gotten the circle, and then they just automatically, for some reason, put a smiley face. So I actually send them both at the same time. And then
I got cross.
You got the cross?
Yeah.
Okay. Not a worry. Okay, the next one, number 4, was, okay, well, this is my attempt at making squiggly lines, but that's what I got.
Okay.
Okay, so that's number 4. And then the last one was the cross.
I only got one right.
Okay, and one of them you were off by 1, right?
Yeah.
Okay. When you were doing that exercise, did you find yourself going into intellect mode, or did you actually look up?
I did look up, but I thought I'm just making it up. That's what it felt like.
That's it. As soon as we say to ourselves, I think I'm making this up, that we can't do it anymore, because then our left brain is dominating, and that's not what we want to do. Correct?
I think it's also learning how to shut that left brain out sometimes.
Well, all we have to do is stay in a place of peace. And when we stay in a place of peace, we are able to receive anything at any time. But if we're talking to ourselves, again, like you were talking to yourselves, that's going to sabotage us every time. Okay, the next test we're going to do is I'm going to send out, I'm going to send out 4 different emotions. They could be happy emotions, sad emotions, but they're in these envelopes, okay? So the first emotion, I'm going to look at it right now, and I want you to see how you feel. When I say I'm sending the emotion now, I want you to go look down and see what kind of emotion you're getting, or look up and receive that way, whichever you choose to do, okay? Because we're dealing with emotions. So I've got the first one now. I'm sending that emotion to you right now. You got it?
Either I got it or I imagined it. I'm not sure which one, but yes.
Just let it in. Let it in, okay?
Yeah.
All right. So I'm now got the second emotion. I just opened the envelope to see what it was. I'm going to send that emotion to you now.
Okay.
Some people will get the emotion. Some people will actually see what I'm doing. So I'll explain that to you. Okay, you ready? You should have it that quickly, okay? I'm going to move through this fast. You have it?
Okay, yep.
Okay, I'm going to go to the third emotion now. Got it?
Yep.
Okay, great. And then the last one, I'm going to open the envelope and see what's in here. Okay. And I'm going to send this now. Got it?
Yeah.
Okay, let's go over this. The first emotion I sent to you was sorrow. So when I was looking at sorrow, I was visualizing when my dad passed away and I was feeling low, you know, and so for me that was a sense of sorrow. And so some people might write things like tears or crying because of course that caused me to feel that way as well. So if you wrote down sorrow or pain or crying, those are all perfect. What did you write down?
Something quite the opposite. I wrote down love. I think I'm just imagining.
Don't judge yourself, okay? You've only done this one time, and that's today. So the more you start doing these kinds of things, the more you're going to get better at it. Nobody starts out perfect. I didn't. That was back in 1969, 70 when I did this. I've been doing some of these things for like ever, but I keep them because I know that they're great tools. Second emotion was ecstasy.
I wrote down joy.
There you go. So if you write down joy, I was visualizing myself in front of the oceans at the end of my street. So I was visualizing myself in front of the Pacific Ocean, smelling the wonderful ocean air and taking deep breaths and just feeling a sense of ecstasy and joy and gratitude and just a fantastic feeling. So any kind of any emotion that you feel like that is really, really worth it. Okay, let's look at number 3. And that particular emotion was anger.
I have anger. Me too. Yeah, honestly, I can show you my list.
I've never seen you so excited about being angry.
Oh, you can't see. I got in my I got something in my ear saying that we can't see that. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I was feeling the anger of being betrayed. And of course, that makes anybody angry. So, whatever it is that you got, if you just felt not pissed off, because I think you guys pissed off in the UK means to be drunk, right?
No, pissed off meaning really like pissed.
Yeah.
That means really angry. Yeah.
So for me, I imagine what I had gone through. So anything that comes close to that emotion is great. And then the very last one that I felt and I sent to everybody was love. Okay? And when I felt love, I immediately connected to my higher power, and I was grateful. So if you have any thoughts of gratitude, any thoughts of thankfulness, just peacefulness, just very calming, that's all love. And so what did you get, Inessa?
Well, the opposite. I think I mixed I put fear.
For the last one?
The last one was fear and my first one was love. I think I'm quite mixed them up.
No, don't worry. See, you're being hard on yourself. Stop it. Okay, fear is an absence of love. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe your mind is telling you something. We're going to take one more test, okay?
Okay.
And then I promise I'll be done with tests.
Okay.
These are necessary things, and then we'll go to break, and then we'll come back with some other things. Now, this time I'm going to show you actual pictures that I cut out from a magazine, and I'm going to be visualizing the picture. And now, if you just get a picture or you get a shape or something, just be open to receive whatever comes through. So I'm going to send you the first picture right now that I have in this envelope. So I'm sending the picture now. It could be of anything. Got it?
Okay, yep.
Okay. All right, isn't this fun? Okay, I've got the second picture, and I'm looking at it in my mind, and I'm sending it now.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. I don't want to stay with this too long because then that gets into the right brain. Okay, I'm looking at the third picture. And, oh yeah, okay. I'm looking at the picture now. Remember, any shapes, colors, anything you can get. Colors are just as important, shapes are important, or actual pictures, whatever it is, okay? Because that's what you're looking for. This is the first time most people have done this. You got it?
Yep.
Okay, so now we're going to go to the final picture, and I'm going to look at it here. Alrighty. There's a lot of different things you'll be able to get with this one too, by the way. So, okay, I'm now looking at it in my mind. Okay, got it?
Yep.
Okay, so let's go with the answers here. The very first picture that I sent to you, and remember, you can either get the color, the shape, an actual image. I sent you a picture of a squirrel.
How cute.
Some people may have gotten an animal, which would be on track. Some people might have gotten that color brown, which would be on track.
I got something like a forest.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
What color? Was it green?
Yep.
Okay, but you know what, that coincides with this in that fact that animals and nature, it's all nature.
So squirrels live there.
Yeah. Well, you're on the right track, but remember that you're a newbie.
Okay.
So the second picture that I sent to everyone was a picture of a chocolate chip cookie, box where you can make chocolate chip cookies. Okay, so people might have gotten the color red. They might have had a sweet sensation, a feeling of wanting dessert. They could have had like the colors of brown and the chocolate, whatever. But that's what I sent for the second one. Okay?
Yep. I wrote down water. Just completely out.
How did you get water? When did that come
I don't know.
to you?
I mean, imagining it.
Did you look up?
I did look up, yeah.
Okay. Keep track if you're looking up to the right and to the left, because you might be fabricating one and you want to find out. Like Anessa, if I ask you a question now, what color house do you live in now? The outside of the house? Where did you look up? To the right or to the left?
To the left.
Okay. So from now on, when you're going to receive, I want you to just look up and to the left so that the answer comes in, okay?
Okay.
Because if you're looking to the right, you're going to be fabricating.
Okay.
Okay, and okay, the next one, the third one that I got was, it's like a very small computer. Or so anybody that got the color either
gray,
dark, or
I wrote down building structure, something like with structure and gray color similar to that.
Okay, there you go. You got that one. That's wonderful because it's in the shape of like a building, correct? Mm-hmm. And you got the right color. So the last one that I did was, and people would have gotten sensations with this one as well, was a package of cigarettes.
Oh, I wrote down bright color.
Right. Okay. Well, look at the background of this picture. There's an ocean and it's bright. It's a nice picture. So why do they put cigarettes? I also imagined myself with a lot of smoke around me and coughing. So if people got the sensation of coughing or smoking or smoke or anything like that, they'd be on the right track. And also the long sticks, a cigarette shaped long and narrow. So even if they wrote down that is okay. So people can assess where they are at this point in time by using little things like this. They can make up their own and then keep testing themselves. If anyone wants any of this information, like the symbols or whatever, you email me and I'll tell you what they are. Draw a picture of a star, a circle, a square, the squiggly lines and the cross. So, I can tell you what they are. Also the colors. You can test your children as well, so that this way they start using more of their right brain, okay? Because they have a lot to teach us, actually. So it's pretty interesting when you start doing this for yourself. And I always tell people, create your own. Cut out pictures in magazines and then, test yourself with it. Sometimes people do this. They put it right here on their forehead and then they close, because this is where the third eye is. So they put it right here so that they can actually see it better. We're transmitting from California all the way to London, but there is no time or space and spirit. So it reaches you just like that, because it has nothing to do with the physical laws. It has to do with spiritual laws. So these particular exercises I wanted you to use in order to help you in the future. And again, you can always watch this broadcast on YouTube if you want to. Those videos should be available each week, because it's always good to have a brush-up course. But also on my website, the Spirit Science videos, those are really good as well too. But I like these small exercises because they make a big impact. And so I know that when we come back from the break, I'm going to talk about, how to sharpen the ability to see, hear, and feel, because there's some exercises to make that happen. And as you know, we did one of them when we went to in our mental laboratory last week. We actually did the colors. Remember, we looked at the screen and we had the different colors. We had the screen change different colors. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Yes. Anyway, so
thank you, Monica. I think we have to go for a break, and we'll be back with more of Monica soon. Welcome back, Monica of Monica.com. You're watching the new format for right brain thinking in a left brain world. Monica, are you back? Hi. Great. I'm really enjoying the show so far.
Oh, thank you. Well, one of the things I wanted to share before, and, I have this tendency of, I have so much information in my head that I tend to, talk about things and I switch subjects and I end up over here. And that's because I have Moon in Gemini, and we have a tendency of doing that. And then we come back and we put it all together so it makes sense. So hopefully that people can make some sense of all of this. I try to keep it as simple as possible. But I wanted to talk about something, because I was talking about emotions before and how they sabotage us. I went to a doctor's office to just get a general checkup, and he had this sign. And it's sometimes when you go to a doctor, you have to wait in their waiting room forever before he comes in. Yeah. I don't know why they do that. I get Botox injections on my neck so it doesn't hurt so badly, because I have arthritis there. And it's like, I always tell the doctor, why do you keep me waiting so long? I said, it's like torture, because Botox injections really hurt a lot. I'm talking about crying. And I have a friend that goes with me every once in a while named Melvin, because he has to hold my hand. I'm such a wuss. But it's very painful. Anyway, so I tell my doctor, I go, why do you take so long? I feel like I'm ready to be tortured soon. So when I went into the office, there's always positive things there. And I took one piece away that was called the Symptoms of Inner Peace. And I have that list with me, and I wanted to share it. Understand also, please, viewers, if there's any materials that I use and you want a copy of it, just go to my website, Monica.com, Monica, MONNICA.com, and email me from there and request the materials that we use today, and I will send them to you, okay? That's just something I like to do, because I want people to constantly keep working on this. Usually when we learn something, within 72 hours, we've already lost over 50% of what we've learned. It's gone, and within a week, 75% of it is gone. So it's always good to have the materials. But this is really called the Symptoms of Inner Peace, because when I read it, I went right into a place of peace. And remember, when we're anxious, we're living in the future. When we're depressed, we're living in the past. And when we're at peace, we're in the now. You know who said that?
Yeah. Who?
Buddha.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice
Okay.
guy.
So, I guess Buddha knew what he was talking about. Okay, the symptoms of inner peace: a tendency to think and act spontaneously rather than from fears based on past experiences. Number 2, an unmistakable ability to enjoy each moment. Number 3, the loss of interest in judging the self. Now, isn't that huge, right?
Yeah.
The loss of interest in judging others. Boy, I'll tell you what, that one is so hard for so many people. I don't know, it just seems like they feel so bad about their own lives that they need to pull people down in order to feel better. But that's not the answer, because it only causes self-sabotage. Number 5, a loss of interest in conflict. A lot of people are drama queens, and kind of like that's their normal. So when I was at Stonehenge, I specifically got messages that we have to be willing to let go of this behavior, like the drama, the fear, the worry, the self-doubt, the, berating ourselves. We have to let all of that go. Okay, also, number 6, the loss of interest in interpreting the actions of others. Don't we head trip on them? I wonder why they're doing that. Okay, no. The loss of ability to worry. This is very serious symptom. People tend to worry because they're taught to worry. We weren't born with worry. We were taught to worry because that was so-called being responsible, quote unquote. But worry is the absolutely opposite of faith. So there's no value in worry. It's only going to make you sick, and it doesn't add anything. It doesn't fix anything. So that's a good one to let go. So if a person has a problem with these, like I said before, it's very easy to just take all the emotions that dominate and write them on a little piece of paper, stick them in a paper cup, plastic cup, fill it halfway with water, put the little piece of paper in there, stick it in the freezer and freeze it. And then once it's frozen, you take it out and then you top it off with water. And why do we do that? Because paper floats. So once it's frozen, you top it off with water, and then you stick it back in the freezer. And those thoughts, emotions, and saboteurs are frozen in time forever, because usually we open the freezer at least one time a day, and we can just look at that cup and just say, ha ha, I froze you in time. I don't worry anymore. I don't roll that way. I don't fear anymore because it's frozen in time. So that particular little tool and that technique is a gem. It'll really help. It makes a big difference in the world. Frequent, overwhelming episodes of appreciation. I mean, isn't that important? Every time we're grateful for anything, even when a person takes you out to dinner and they pick up the tab, I always say, I'm so grateful for this gift. I don't take anything for granted, because that's something that they gave to me and I received it. And even though I might say, oh, no, let me get it. No, okay, don't argue, just receive it. My friend always reminds me, you need to learn to receive more. I guess because I do this kind of work, I'm constantly giving. And like, who is there for me? Well, I have some good friends that are there for me, and I have family too. So always be grateful for anything that you have, even your animals, because all pets, they're just pure love. And all they do is they give you what you give to them, especially cats. Dogs give you love all the time, but cats, if you give them a lot of love, they're going to give you a lot of love back. Okay, number 9, contented feelings of connectedness with others and nature. That is so important, to connect with others, because, I've always looked at it this way. Here's my hand. Let's say this is me, this is you, this is David, this is Martina, the other people in our world. We're all separated, right? But yet on a spiritual world, especially in another dimension, we are all actually connected. So whatever we do affects everybody else. So we need to stay connected in a positive, loving way, because when we don't, guess what? When we do negative things, it also comes right back to us. Isn't that interesting?
Yep.
Okay, so the next one is frequent attacks of smiling through the eyes of the heart. And that's what I talked about before. The smile can make the biggest difference in our day. Number 11, increasing susceptibility to love extended by others, as well as the uncontrollable urge to extend it. I think that takes some practice, but if we do things like random acts of kindness, we'll start to learn it. And, like I think I mentioned in one other show that sometimes I'll be crossing the toll booth, and the toll fee might be $5 when you cross the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco. So I'll just give the lady $10, and I'll say the $5 is for the car behind me. I've never seen him before, ever. And I'll never see him again. Usually they catch up to me and honk the horn, saying thank you. But it's kind of nice to be able to do little random acts of kindness and extend all the love that we have to other people, even strangers. Number 12, the last one, an increasing tendency to let things happen rather than make them happen. Isn't that true? And why is that? Because when you allow things to happen, they happen organically. A lot of times we push, a lot of times we try. The word try is an operative word here because that means that it requires effort, and effort creates anxiety, and anxiety separates us from the right brain. So we have to let them happen instead of make them happen. That would be kind of like a woman that's pregnant and she decides, no, I want this child now, but I've only been pregnant 5 months, but I'm tired of it.
Can't go back, love. Have to wait 9 months.
Wait 9 months, sorry, and some people plant a seed in the ground, and then they dig it up the next day. How's it doing? You have to just let it be. And I just thought of that song by John Lennon. He's like one of my favorites. Anyway, so we have to leave things alone and let them happen. We take the first step, which is why it goes back to old scripture when it says God helps those who help themselves, which means love helps us when we take the first step. We must choose, because if you want to grow beautiful roses in your backyard, the seeds are not going to plant themselves, right? You have to do it first. Other people are so clueless that I want a beautiful garden, but they don't plant anything. Or I want to have a really wonderful life, but they don't think about a wonderful life, they think about the misery in their lives. Other people say, oh, if I only had more money, I'd be happy. But no, you have to be happy first, and you have to see yourself with that kind of wealth, which is why that laboratory was wonderful, because we created a bank, remember?
Yes.
We had the bank in the laboratory, and you can manifest money very quickly because it's already there for us. We just have to let it come into the third dimension, that's all. So I wanted to share the symptoms with peace because it's really a very good tool. And if anyone wants a copy of it, just email me and I'll send it to you. It's a really good thing to have on your wall to look at. Okay, now I'm ready to go on to the next phase, and that is how to strengthen the ability to hear, feel, and see telepathically, clairsentience, and clairvoyance. So the other one is empathy, the ability to feel other people. And a lot of people have called me and they said, I feel what other people are feeling, and then I feel bad the rest of the day. Well, here's what you do. The reason I tune into people using the ability as an empath is because I want to see what's going on with their health. That's the best way for me, is to become them. So I let it in, I feel it, and again, remember when you're doing these things, at first you think you're making it up, but you're not. So what I do is I feel things. I even will project onto my two cats, Casey and Kobe, and I'll say, okay, how are you feeling today? And I get a sensation and I know what's going on with them. Especially one who gets a little bit sick. Has real sensitive digestive system. So I can tell what to give him in food. With people, I can tell what's going on with them. When we have the class about reading auras, I'm going to teach you how to read an aura so you know what's going on with the person, and without having to do the empath thing. But this is the ability to feel. So just tune into different things. Tune into a tree. Tune into your pet. Tune into a person sitting nearby you, and just say what's going on with them, and let yourself feel it. And remember, if you log these things, it'll help you receive more. So that's how you strengthen the ability to feel through empathy. The ability to see something clearly. We covered that when we went into our mental laboratory last week. But you can also, you don't have to do that. You can actually do things like remember I had those colored cards? You can actually just stare, like let's say at the color red. So get, like butcher paper in different colors. And so you have the spectrum of light at least, and then practice looking at each color with your eyes open, and then close your eyes and then visualize that color. And if you can't see it as clearly, open your eyes again and look at it, and then memorize more of it, and then close your eyes and replicate it again. If you need to do it a third time, then look at it again and close your eyes. Now I have the color very sharp in my mind. I can see it exactly, and it matches this. And do that with all the colors in the spectrum, and that's one of the sharpest ways of being able to see more brilliant colors when you get messages. And also through, interestingly enough, your dreams become brighter as well. So that's one of the best ways of being able to see. Then actually look at objects. Take objects, because a picture speaks 1,000 words, and a lot of times when universe gives us information, it gives us just a picture, and we need to know how to interpret that. So that's when we're going to go into symbolism. So you want to look at things like, let's say this is my water bottle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stare at my water bottle, I'm going to close my eyes, and I'm going to imagine the water bottle. Okay, and I'm going to open my eyes again quickly. I get more detail about the water bottle. I see more. Okay, now I replicate that in my mind. I see more detail. And then for the third time, I look at it once again, and I look at something else I didn't see last time. And now I see that, and I close my eyes, and now I can see all of it very clearly. So you want to do that with objects as well, because the more you're able to do that particular exercise, and you can see that I did it very quickly, the faster you'll be able to then receive messages from the universe with different images. The last thing I want to talk about is the ability to hear. A lot of times, you know, most of my messages are clairaudient. I hear most of the information I receive. And what I do is I repeat it. So when I talk to the callers that call in today, I do receive the solution for you. I actually hear it from my spirit guide. And spirit guides and, you know, angels and teachers and archangels and fairies, we're going to cover that stuff in another class. Otherwise, we'd be here till, you know, 4 in the morning. So I have to be able to segment everything. So to be able to hear better, it's real important that you practice listening to sounds, because when you hear information like I hear it, it's not like I'm hearing someone speak to me in my head. That's called schizophrenia. I don't want that. Okay? That's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs time. For me, it's really about the feeling of hearing. So if I said to you, Anessa, listen to the sound of the ocean in your head right now. Can you hear it?
Yeah.
But it was a feeling of hearing. You actually didn't hear the ocean at all, did you? It was a recollection. Correct?
Yeah. I think I'm hearing it, though.
Yeah, no, of course. Now, get out of your left brain, okay? Just play with me. All right? Now you're 5 years old. You're going to play. Boom, just like that. Okay, so I want you to now listen to the sound of your mother calling your name. Did you hear it?
Oh, yes, indeed.
Okay, there you go. So, see, that's what it sounds like. It's a feeling of hearing. It's not an actual, like your mother wasn't in your head just now, okay? You actually recollected and felt her saying that to you. I want you to, let's try one more, and the people viewing this can do this as well. I want you to listen to the sound of a cow mooing. You might even see a cow, and then I want you to hear it.
Oh, it's such a beautiful cow.
Okay, but you heard the...
Oh, yes, indeed, yeah.
Okay.
I love cows.
Do you really? Do you know that that's the animal that we see every single day without fail? Out of all animals, we see a cow every day. Do you know why?
Why?
Because things are made of leather, and people wear leather belts, or sometimes in their shoes, or they see actual cow itself. There's something about a cow that's in everything that we have in our lives every day. You will see it. And even if you try not to, I guarantee you will see something that represents a cow. That could be milk. It could be, you know, like I said, leather. It could be the spots, black and white with the spots. There's even a company that their symbol is a, you know, the spots of a cow. But you'll see that animal every single day. I really challenge everybody to look at it and try not to see a cow each day, and you will see it. In some form or another, you will see it. Okay? It just is. And people have tried to make me wrong about this, but they say, you know what, you're right, I see it every day. And some person told me, oh my God, it was like the end of the day, and I thought, I didn't see a cow today, I'm going to tell Monica, and all of a sudden, boom, on television, there it was.
I love the way they have these amazing eyelashes, the most beautiful eyes. If you ever looked into cow's eyes, it's the most beautiful eyes ever.
And you know what? All animals feel, and they feel 28 times stronger than we do. So the fact that people actually kill animals disgusts me. And anytime I have a meal, I always pray for an animal that sacrificed its life, because usually they go, you know, they're put down in such a horrible way. And I have compassion that you want to change its frequency. And they know that they reincarnated to be food for people. They realize that, but still, sometimes people are just too cruel to them, and that just really bothers me. So I always send out the best energy so that people can stop. You know, animals want to live too, you know? They have feelings more than we do. I mean, they're stronger, and the only thing they don't show is tears. So that's why people don't think they have feelings. They just don't have tears like we do. So I know I'm getting on a roll here and I'm getting off topic, but
no, I could go forever about cows and meat and all that, because it really upsets me. I have such a love for cows that it really upsets me knowing that people eat it all the time, and I'm sometimes so upset that I don't know what to do with myself.
Well, you know what? It's interesting, Anessa, that you happen to love cows, because I was going to pick a chicken. I was going to tell people to listen to the sound of a chicken. And then all of a sudden my mind said, no, say cows. And I did. So I probably picked that up from you.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty funny. Anyway, so one of the things I want to do is I want to talk about symbols. And the reason why is because with symbols, we can create our own list. And the symbolic list is very interesting because we give meaning to symbols. So for instance, if you have your pen and paper, I want you to list 1 through 10, and we're going to look at some symbols. Because when you give meaning to a symbol, every time it pops in your mind, you already know what it means because you gave it meaning. So this really helps with dreams as well, because a lot of times we dream and we keep seeing that symbol. And we know how to interpret the dream that way. And, you know, so let's start off with making a symbolic list. And I'd like you to add at least 5 symbols every day. I finally created a list that had 100 symbols. But I needed a little help, so I used a book that we're going to talk about later called the Dream Book. And I was able to get a lot of help from that. Okay, so the first thing on your list, let's say write down gold coins. When you see gold coins, what does that mean to you? Okay, I'm going to give you the list of things to write, and on your own time, you're going to decide what these things mean to you and write as much detail as possible. Number 2, how about a tornado or a hurricane or a terrible storm? Write down, that's basically like 2A, B, and C. Write down what these things mean to you. Okay, I know that when I give a reading and if I see a tornado, I know that that person is spinning out of control and they're about to hit a disaster. So I immediately have that information and I go to my spirit guide that says, here's how they work themselves out of it. Tell them to change this, this, and this, and this, and they won't have that coming to them. Okay, number 3, what about an airplane? For me, an airplane represents spirituality because I take flight. And for me, that's spirituality and being free and taking flight. It's not about being encased inside of a plane, but that might be what it means to you, or it might bring up a fear of flying. So you'll have to write down your own meaning, okay? And then let's say number 4, what about a house? It could be a mansion or it could be a shack. And when you look at a house, you look at the different floors because the house actually represents us. The attic represents our spirituality. Is it too dark in there? Are there spirit guides in there? What about the living room? What about the kitchen where we cook and we eat? What about the bedroom where we rest? You have to have subcategories for each one of these. So if I'm doing a reading and I see a bedroom, but there's nobody in, I don't see the person sleeping well, I immediately know that they're not sleeping well or they're not sleeping long enough because I saw them and they weren't in the bed. I just saw the bed. So I'll tell them, you know what? You're not sleeping very much. You're not in your bed that often. And they'll say, yeah, that's correct. So see the importance of creating a symbolic list and giving it meaning because it'll have meaning for you. You'll also receive it intuitively for yourself, but you can also receive messages for other people, and that's how you start to learn how to give a reading, is by using these. Number 5, what about things like a car? A car moves us forward, but what if you see a car that has no wheels? It's not going anywhere, or it's in the shop being repaired, like mine was a couple of weeks ago. So that means we're not moving forward. What about if you see the car, but you're not behind the driver's seat? Let's say that you are a passenger. That, for me, that means that a person's not in control of their life. They're giving their power to somebody else. So you can come up with that meaning or other meanings. If the car is in shambles, if there's too much garbage inside, it's trying to tell you, because the car also represents us, that there's too much garbage in our head, that we're thinking too much white noise. Disorder, we need to be more orderly. And so it's just telling us what to do. If I saw that in a reading, I saw, oh my gosh, and I've done that many times. I'll look at a person, I'll see a car in my mind, and I'll go, oh my God, when are you going to clean out your car? Crap in it. And they start laughing. They go, oh, I know, I'm terrible at that, you know? So these things, you know, we're not making them up. Once we give them meaning, our mind, it remembers everything, and it will give us exactly what we need to know for ourselves or for other people. And again, that's by staying connected to the intuition, which means you need to be in a peaceful place. And we already went over emotions that sabotage that. Okay, we have number 5, right? So we go to number 6. How about, let's say, oh, and you want to look at the condition of the car as well. If it's old, rickety, if it's not running right, or if it's riding smoothly. Okay, what about, let's see, a pot of stew on the stove. For me, that represents nurturing, taking care of our health. And when I see in a reading, like a pot of stew, I know that that person's eating well because there's vegetables in there, there's some protein in there, and it's hearty. And heartiness for me represents, a good diet. The person's conscientious. If I saw another symbol, such as fast food wrappers and stuff, then I would know that that person's not doing their health justice. So number 7 could be fast food. Going to number 8, you can look at things such as beautiful gems, crystals, things of that nature. When I see crystals like amethyst and citrine, and I see the crystal and the clear one, if I see gemstones like ruby or sapphire or emeralds, for me, I know that those are all healing things. These are things that heal, and they really make a difference. And if I see it in a reading and I know what each color means and I know the property values of each one because I've taken the time to study the healing properties of, let's say, a black spinel from Australia, or a ruby or a garnet or a emerald or a sapphire, I know the healing properties of that, which we'll cover in another show, of course. So you can look at gemstones and give them meaning. Okay, you can actually make up your own meanings, but for now you can add that to it. All right. So that number 9. Let's look at fairies or angels. And for me, when I see fairies or angels in a reading, or for myself, when I see it for myself, let's say I get the image, I know that I'm being helped, that someone is guiding me. When I see Archangel Michael, Archangel Raphael, Archangel Gabriel, Gabriel's the one I communicate with the most, I know that they're watching after me. If I see it in someone else's reading, I know that that person is usually a person that believes in angels and fairies, and I'll say, oh, okay, I see that you believe in angels and fairies, and are you using them on a daily basis? Are you consulting? Are you asking them to help you? And they'll usually say, of course, because that's why they know that they have them. The 4th one, I always think of, let's say someone that passed away in your life that you really love dearly. You can actually, that could be number 10. And that person, when they come to you in dreams, that's a gift. And we'll talk about that in a little bit in the next segment. The other thing is that with dream analysis, it's really, really difficult, to interpret dreams because they don't usually make a lot of sense. So those 10 things for symbols will really help us in the long run have better dreams and be able to interpret dreams. When we're back from the break, I actually want to go through very quickly about dream interpretation and how easy it is. And then I'm going to recommend a book so that you can study further. Because if I take too much time, I won't have time for callers. I have this information, and you need to learn it so that you can understand why we have nightmares, why some people don't dream, why some people have repeated dreams over and over again. And there's information about each one of those things, and I'll make a point to make sure that you know what they mean. And there's also cycles for each dream as well. So I want you to continue to add to your symbol list, because the more you have, the more you receive. The more you receive, the more you receive guidance, and you know what to do next. The more you trust it, the more you're going to receive, not only for yourself, but you'll be able to look at someone else and say, I wonder what's going on with them, and then just ask for the picture to show up, and you'll be able to tell them, wow, or actually take the emotions. What are they feeling now? Okay, what am I hearing from them? So you take all of these things, and believe it or not, the next thing you know is you're actually giving a reading. So you want to practice with people, and you want to say, okay, do you mind if I do this? I learned some things, and I want to use them and to see how well I do, because this takes practice. Like I said, I've been doing this for almost 43 years in May, and I've done over, at least 60,000 readings, and that's a lot. So for me, it's second nature, but you're learning kindergarten stuff right now, but everything that I'm teaching you, it applies, and that's a starting point. That's how I studied. That's how I learned. And one of the greatest teachers I ever had, I wish I could locate her, but I think she passed away. It was Reverend Eva Kane. She taught me so well, and I was like a sponge, soaking it in. I wanted to learn more and more and more. And when you're on this path, there's no turning back. When you turn back and see where you came from, it's like, no, thank you. I'd rather continue. It's the best in the world.
Sorry, Monica, to interrupt. I think it's time for another commercial break. Please stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back, Monica of Monica.com. You are watching the new format for Right Brain Thinking in a Left Brain World. Monica.
Hi.
Welcome back.
Thanks. I'm going to get into the anatomy of a dream, and then, of course, we're going to show a book, one of the best books I ever purchased. And there's a lot of dream books out there, but the one that I found that was very accurate, because you can also go through it. This book is called The Dream Book by Betty Bethards. And this book has like almost 17, I think the newest edition has 1,800 symbols in it. And it can actually help you create your own dream, your own, symbolic list if you get stuck. So anyway, this book is the best one you can get. And Betty Bethards, wonderful, wonderful person. It's the most accurate one. And I used a lot of her symbols to create my own list as well. I want to talk about the anatomy of a dream because it's divided into 3 parts. And when you read this book, you're going to get much more detailed information about it. But this is how I'm able to interpret dreams. First of all, it's divided in 3 parts. The beginning of your dream it represents the past, or when a particular behavior or emotion began. So sometimes people have dreams back in the house where they grew up, or when they were in school, maybe in the 5th grade, or when someone made fun of them. But it always represents the past, and it reveals you and when you took on that behavior or belief system about yourself. The middle part of the dream reveals how it's affecting us right now, how it's interfering in our lives right now, or maybe helping us right now. The last part of the dream is actually the solution. It tells us exactly what we need to do in order to overcome those things that limited us or interfered in our lives in the moment. So if you look at a dream and you're able to look at the symbols in it and write down the symbols, a lot of people say, oh my gosh, I always forget my dreams as soon as I wake up. But you know what happens? As soon as we remember one symbol or one emotion from the dream, the whole thing comes back. And I think that's an interesting phenomenon. Some people say, well, maybe I should wake up in the middle of the night and write down my dream. No, don't do that. You don't want to, disturb your sleep cycle, especially after I showed you that scale of brain evolution in the first lesson. Remember that chart I showed you? It shows you how we go to sleep.
Yes.
Well, and if you want a copy of that, please email me and I'll definitely send it to you because it's really good to look at. It shows us our sleep patterns. So with the dreams, once you understand that the reason why they're disjointed, they don't go together, is because part 1 is the past, part 2 is how it's affecting us now, and part 3 is the solution. You definitely want to go to the solution, but just remember one thing about the dream and it'll all come back. Now we have different types of dreams as well. A lot of them are just releasing a lot of emotional garbage and just a lot of mental clutter. So those are the ones that are usually like filled with things that don't make sense. It's just a form of releasing. The mind releases things when we sleep at night. We feel our emotions, we release those during the day, but our mind gets rid of clutter, which I call white noise. And so we want it to go away, we want it to release it, but another way of releasing is to go into a meditation and release it that way. A lot of people like me don't have a lot of patience for meditation, so I just simply do my thing every morning, which is connect to something greater, and I just let it filter out through a beam of light, which we did in lesson 1, by the way. That grounding technique is effective. If you want to learn how to do that, go to the YouTube's video and watch that particular episode. I'm making a weird face like that or something. I started cracking up and I said, why'd they do that? But I have a million expressions. My face is, I'm a Latina, what can I say? I use my hands a lot. I speak Spanish and English, and I make a lot of faces. That's just our culture. Okay, we also have dreams that represent the events of the day. So that also comes into play as well too, because sometimes we replay things that aren't very, positive or very agreeable. But in a future class, I'm going to teach you how to let those things go. We've got problem solving, which is really, really good. Precognitive and prophetic dreams are the most rare. But a lot of people, like I remember back the first time I had a prophetic dream, I remember dreaming about Aldo Moro, who was the leader of Italy, and I saw him being assassinated. And sure enough, the very next day on the news, it said that he had been killed. So that was a prophetic dream. I've had other prophetic dreams as well too, and so does my mother. My mother saw my brother in an explosion, and the very next day it actually happened to my father. So it was a male person that she was seeing, but it was a family member and it was male. My intuitive ability comes from my mother, her side of the family. As a matter of fact, my cousin in Mexico, in Juarez, Mexico, the most dangerous city on the earth, had a dream that she saw the Twin Towers in New York City blow up. And that happened exactly 2 days before 9/11. And she told everybody, she said, I see these buildings blowing up and I see them on fire, and it's in New York. So it clearly comes from my mother's side of the family, and it's continuing, which makes me happy, because she's very young. She's about 15. So then we have out-of-body experiences, which are really cool, because that's when you can actually visit your family members, people that have crossed over, or actually have experiences and go into other frequencies and dimensions. But you have to ask for that. The other thing, too, is, because I've been in contact with extraterrestrials since the mid-'70s, actually since I was younger. I have to say when I was probably about 4, but then they left me alone. They came back in the '70s. I had a lot of experiences. Talked to a very, very famous artist from a group called Earth, Wind, and Fire. And the lead singer is Maurice White. And if you remember, a lot of you that are my age, the albums from Earth, Wind, and Fire always had spaceships on them. And they always had the number 4. Well, I got to spend time with Maurice White by ourselves, and he was actually a very good intuitive. He read me accurately. But I said, what's all the spaceships about? He said, actually, I was abducted. I was taken to different places, and they showed me that we can manifest things. They put a nickel in my hand, and they told me to think of gold, and then the nickel turned into gold, a golden nickel. And they showed me how we can do things, and as time passes, we'll be able to manifest things faster and faster and faster. So he was taken out of his body, and that was his experience. I've left my body and gone into a spacecraft one time, and it was the most amazing healing experience I ever had. Those are really fun, but again, you have to ask for those things to happen. When we get into past lives and reincarnation, you can also ask for those dreams as well. A lot of dreams are teaching dreams. They are teaching us about ourselves, and we need to pay attention. Now, what happens if you say, well, I don't remember any of my dreams? Well, we all dream every single night. The reason why people don't remember dreams is because they're not taking breaks during the day. They work such long hours without taking a break every 2 hours. We have to let the brain rest every 2 hours, especially the left hemisphere. We have to take a 10-minute break and eat something. I don't care if it's a trail mix bar, a piece of fruit, something, but it's every 2 hours because that left brain needs to rest. And then it allows the right brain to come through and start giving us ideas. We actually recharge ourselves within those 10 minutes. And then we get back to work and we're more effective. We have more energy, and our blood sugar level is actually more balanced, so we don't have that exhausted feeling at the end of the day. The people that don't dream are not taking breaks, so therefore their mind basically collapses, and it just goes into unconscious because it needs a break sometime, so it's waiting for us to go to sleep. Some people take power naps during the day, and that really helps. But sometimes people don't have the luxury of taking a power nap. So anyway, and we also have cycles of dreams as well. When you read the book, the Dream Book by Betty Bethard, you're going to see that we have dreams that occur in the spring and the fall that accelerates the time of learning. From the spring to the summer, it's the most difficult to recall, so we have to make an effort to do that. The months of the fall, October, November, December, are not predominant, but they're integrating lessons that we've learned throughout the year. And the winter are the clearest and the strongest, and we're in the winter right now, and my dreams have been really vivid. So whatever lessons that we don't learn in the spring and the fall will come back again the next spring. That's why we have repeated dreams. We dream the same thing over and over because we still haven't learned the lessons. The nightmares, which is the final one. Nightmares are actually the best dreams to have, and that's because they're supposed to scare the shit out of us because it's trying to get our attention so that we do something about changing our lives. It's like, stubborn. I have a lot of Taurus on my chart. I tend to be stubborn, or I can be determined. Sometimes something has to hit me over the head like a brick in order to get my attention. Well, that's how nightmares work. It's not there to scare you. It's there to scare you so that you are going to learn from those symbols. It's just trying to give you the symbols, which are actually positive. It's trying to redirect you because you're not paying attention. The other thing, too, is when people dream about death, it's not that we're dying. It's that there's a part of our personality that we've changed and we're letting it go, which is an old habit, a belief system, or a pattern. It's just that we're letting it go, we're letting it die. So I think we probably need to take some calls, don't we?
Yes, we do. You can call us now with your questions to our resident intuitive therapist, medium and numerologist Monica Sepulveda. If you are calling from UK, the number is 020-3714-2700. If you are calling from abroad, it's +4420-3714-2700. Monica, can you tell us how you do your work? I mean, how do you do your work? And what is the difference between psychic and medium?
Yeah, okay. That's a very good question, because as you know, I don't ever address myself as a psychic. Nowhere on my website will you ever see the word psychic except in one place, and that's because I'm written in a book called The Top 100 Psychics of America. I was interviewed by this woman in New York City who found out about me because I was on a lot of television shows in America. So she interviewed me and she said, I'm calling it this because this word is familiar to most people. And she interviewed 1,000 people in my line of work, and I made the cut of 100. So that was a really honor for me. I felt so good, you know. And the word psychic, if you look it up, it just means intuition. So we decided, me and a lot of my friends who do the same work, we decided to let that go, because people think that the word psychic means that I have a power that you don't, and that's not true. We all have intuition, correct?
Yes.
So that's a more appropriate word. So I always say that psychic is the word from the last century. People tend to poo-poo it. It has such a bad image. And people go, oh, I don't believe in that shit, you know? And so so what you do is just say it's just intuition. So I call myself an intuitive therapist because I intuitively see what's going on in a person's life. When I do a one-on-one session, by the way, usually a person doesn't say anything to me. I do all the talking, and I always answer their questions before they ask them, because it comes through so clearly when you do those exercises about, you know, enhancing the ability to hear, see, and feel. When you do the exercises that I outlined today, you will find that you become better and better at it. And so I receive it so clearly now that it's just like a piece of cake. Some people make the mistake and think that I've got it turned on all day long. Are you kidding me? No, I'm actually kind of normal, you see, and I have to diffuse by watching comedy shows or things to make me laugh, because after doing, you know, this type of counseling every single day, I usually see 4 people a day. They get an in-depth session, and I tell them everything I'm receiving, and it always checks out. That's because I don't doubt anything anymore. At the first few times we did this show, we had a different format. But I was doing readings that were very quickly, we were getting cut off. There was a lot of technical things. So it really looked like I didn't have my act together. And that was kind of disconcerting for me, because I've done television and radio since 1978. And so I was not happy with that, which is why I changed the format. A medium is a person that can communicate with people who have crossed over. That uses a different part of the brain. My intuition, I always feel it in here. But when I connect with spirit on the other side of people who have passed over, like a person will come to me and I'll just see their you know, a family member or a friend that crossed over. And like yesterday, I just saw this woman. I said, your aunt is right here. I said, she's a newbie. She goes, yeah, she just passed away. And so she started telling me things for my client, which I don't reveal because I don't disclose that. And so, you know, I can hear them, but they're at a different frequency. Kind of like when you're watching TV. If you have it on Channel 5, you're not getting Channel 4 or Channel 6. You're getting whatever's on Channel 5 in that frequency. But we got a bunch of frequencies running across right now. Radio signals, bandwidth, a lot of television signals, satellites. We've got lots of frequencies. But when we can zero in and tune in on one frequency, then we're able to communicate and connect with that person who has that frequency. So I use a different part of my brain, which means I'm using more of my brain and my mind in order to be able to tap into these things. You know, they've always told us we use 15% of our mind or our brain. We actually can use much more of it by doing these kinds of exercises. A numerologist, of course, is what I do. That allows me, and when I have people call in, I always say, give me your birthday, because it gets me right into their space quickly. And one thing I learned back about radio is that you never have dead air time. When you're on television, you don't have dead air time. You just don't. It's wrong. They don't want that. They want you to keep going. And they want to give you constant, you know, you want constant information to be shared with other people. So that's one of the things I do. The word psychic is old-fashioned. It belongs in the 20th century. It's not appropriate any longer. It's intuition. We all have it. My greatest goal is to actually put myself out of business. I mean, that's a wonderful goal. Teaching enough people to do what I do so that they can help themselves by going into the right brain, which is what the evildoers do not want us to do. And that goes way back to religion. They wanted to separate us from our right brain or intuition. So they wrote chapters about it. Do not, especially in the book of Deuteronomy, do not go to psychics. Do not go to astrologers. They are evil. They try to, again, with their fear, keep us enslaved. And then they actually ended up torturing people and killing people during the Inquisition in order to scare the crap out of everybody else so that they would stay in fear, because that's one of the greatest prisoners. So we let go of that particular emotion and just say, hey, fuck off. I don't need you anymore. I don't roll that way anymore. What I do now is I'm coming from a place of pure love for me and for other people, and enthusiasm, because that's a God within, and coming from honest. Instead of being frustrated, I now become fascinated, and I allow old emotions to come through, like I talked about earlier. And so when you start doing these things, one person at a time, we each take care of our own space, guess what? The planet starts to shift. Because a lot of people, and I get email all the time, even people that watch this show, and they say, but aren't we going to fall apart? Is it going to fail? Look at what they're doing. Look what they're doing with global warming. Look what's happening with, all of these things that they're controlling. Well, if you buy into that illusion and buy into their bullshit, of course you're going to stay panicked, but I'm teaching you not to do that, because when we change and we stay in that place of peace, one of the things I like about David's book, it always ends with a solution. I love that. When I read the first book I read was The Secret, The Biggest Secret. And that last chapter really hit me hard. And I believe everything he says because he's authentic, he's genuine, he comes from the heart, he's doing the right thing. And of course, anytime people are doing something different and thinking out of the box, they always get criticized. That one thing that we always know is that there's never been a statue erected to a critic, but the people they criticize, they get, there's no statues for the people that criticize, but statues go up for people that do great things. I always look at Leonardo da Vinci and how unconventional and how different he was, and how he allowed his mind to actually give him images and inventions. And that's really kind of cool. I aspire to be like that. And David and I actually went to see some of his artwork. When we went to Windsor Castle, we saw one of the drawings there, and it's just amazing how that energy, you can take from that energy. You can take from any energy. Even when you go to your mental laboratory, you can call a genius like Leonardo da Vinci to come and join you in your laboratory and in your conference room and have a conversation and learn. There's just absolutely no limitation. The one thing I wanted to tell you about symbols that I left out, and this, I don't know why I forgot this, but this is so good. A lot of times people can't hear the information from their own mind at the beginning. So I want you to pick some symbols that you're going to hold on to, okay? I have one. It's a pink car. And I chose this back in 1980. And I said to my higher power, I'm really worried about certain things. I'm really disturbed about these things. When is it going to change? Would you show me a pink car to show me that things are going to change in my world? And I want to see it tonight by 6 o'clock. You don't see pink cars on the road. Hardly ever. Especially here. When I went to England, I saw them several times. David was with me, in fact, and he goes, there's your pink car. He pointed it out to me. So now that I see a pink car, why is it a pink car? Because they're rare, a car moves forward, and the pink represents universal love, which means everything is rosy or everything is in the pink. When we go through color therapy, I'll get more into that. So you can pick a symbol. Am I going to get this job? If I'm going to get this job, I want to see a pink car today. Or maybe pick your own symbol of what you want to see, but make sure that it's something that you don't see. So don't pick a red car, because you're going to see red cars everywhere. But you got to pick something unique.
Monica, sorry to interrupt. I think we have our first caller, and it's Monica. Her date of birth is 24th of April, 1966. She is in transition stage in her life. What are her options?
Okay, you got to be specific, Monica. What area of your life is it in? Because we have jobs, we have change of residence.
Hi.
I need,
Career.
Career.
Okay. All right. Okay, Monica, what I'm getting for you is that, opportunities for a change in job, if that's what you really, really want, will actually start to come to you in the The fourth month of this year, which would be April, that's when the opportunity begins to open. Then you'll have a decision to make whether you want to change it or not. But that's when I see the door opening. I don't feel that there's any roadblocks for you. I think you just need to stay really calm and not head trip about it. With respect to finance, I do feel it's staying exactly the same for you. It's not like you're going to hit this lotto or some type of jackpot. I see it being very steady. One of the things I like about you is that you do, and you're capable of really taking action, that you're an action person, that you are independent, that you have a really good work ethic. Anyone that hires you has a gem with you because you have determination and you have really good work skills. So I don't know if you've ever thought of this, but I'm looking at you in future tense as actually having your own business, and I think ultimately that's where it's going to end up.
I think we have lost Monica, but I hope that she heard her reading.
Yes, of course. We definitely want that. So where did I leave off? I don't remember. Anyway, so with the symbols, you can also pick a second symbol. If you're not going to get this job, then say, if I'm not going to get this job, then I want to see a crow, or a bluebird, something different. Or you can say, I want to see a blue feather. If I'm not getting this job, if I am getting the job, I want to see a pink car, but if I'm not, I want to see a blue feather. So you pick something that is very, unlikely. And what will happen is your mind will receive it and will show you exactly the answer that you need. Or if you're choosing between two jobs, should I take this one or this one? Well, if I take this job, it's the better one for me, then I want to see a pink car, and that'll tell me to take option 1. If I see the blue feather, that tells me that it's number 2, the second option. And that really helps with decision making. Oh my gosh, you wouldn't believe how many times I've utilized symbols. But my pink car story, I've told so many times that people, in my office, I have a huge collection of pink cars now. They're everywhere. When I actually went to Berlin, before I went to London, I wanted to see the Brandenburg Gate, and I wanted to see the Berlin Wall where it was and everything. But I ended up, the wheelchair wasn't there for me, and I was really having a lot of pain with my neck and knees. So I walked into the shop, and right there was this little cube, and the little cube it was like 1 inch by 1 inch. It's so small, I should have had it with me because it's right over here, but I'll bring it next week. It has actually a picture of the Brandenburg Gate, part of the Berlin Wall, and on top of the Berlin Wall was a pink car. And when I saw it, I went, wow, I was supposed to get lost. I was supposed to walk and go to this particular little shop, because there was my symbol that everything for me has turned the corner, which it did, because I had just gotten back from Auschwitz.
I'm so sorry, Monica, to disturb. I think we have Monica back. I just want to ask Monica if she understood her reading. Monica, are you there?
Yes, hello, I'm here. Hi.
Okay, Monica, so did you understand, did you hear the reading?
I did hear the reading, yes.
Okay. Do you have any more questions?
Yeah, no, do you have any comments about it? Anything you need clarity about, or any comments?
Well, first of all, I'd say it was very accurate, very spot on. And yes, just confirmed some things for me, although that wasn't specific. It really resonates, and I can totally relate to the reading. So I would just want to say thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
And yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I sometimes, because of a lack of time, when I do a reading with a client, I have usually a half an hour with them, and I can get extremely specific. But because of the time frame here, I have to give you exactly what I receive in the order I receive it. The more I talk to a person, the more information I receive from that, which is a little bit unfortunate for people that call in, because they're going to get their information, they're going to get what they need. But some of the specific information comes through a little bit later. So I do the best I can, and I'm glad that you resonated with it, and I'm glad that it confirmed what you already know, which I know because you're a person of action. So, right on.
That's true.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Monica.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay. So I can continue?
Yes, please do.
Okay. So when you start using symbols, the way I learned this, I read a book back in the 70s. It was called Illusions by Richard Bach. And that's how to choose illusions. how to choose symbols. I'm sorry. I was visualizing the cover of the book just now, and I saw the word illusion, so I repeated it. And on the cover of the book was a blue feather. And he said he wanted an answer for something he needed to know, whether he should do it or not. And in the book, he said, I chose a blue feather. And during the day, he said, he decided to have some cereal later in the day, and he took a carton of milk, and he noticed as he was pouring the milk into his cereal, there was a blue feather on the carton of milk. And so I thought, wow, well, then that means that we can pick any symbol and we can choose it to get answers. And that's one of the best ways for people to get confirmation, to make decisions. If you don't quite trust your instinct and your intuition, which happens at the beginning, but the more you do it, the more you will, it's always a second option is to have a symbol. Also, practice visualization by doing kindergarten things like when I get to the store, there's going to be a parking space right in front, and I don't have to park far away. And guess what? It always happens. That's like kindergarten intuitive ability 101. You're now telling your mind what you want to do instead of it telling you how to feel or how to think. We're taking back control, in other words. So I always say whenever I get to wherever I'm going, I have great parking karma, and there's a parking space right in front, and it happens every single time. So I want people to do that as well. But come up with really unique symbols. When some people take my pink car and they come back with stories that are so interesting. This one lady wanted to know if her father is in touch with her, so she said, I'm going to use the pink car. And so they were she and her boyfriend were supposed to go to a movie, but they missed the time. So they decided, oh, wait a minute, there's a car show really close. And so he said, well, let's go look at some cars. And so she said that as she was walking toward the different car shows, there was a car there, and it had a picture of a Thunderbird, or it was a Thunderbird, which is a type of car. Well, her dad used to call her Thunderbird. That was his nickname for her. So it was no mistake that she ended up going to a car show, saw a pink car that was a Thunderbird. And to her, that meant, yes, my dad is with me. And she told me that story. And I get lots of people that call me or email me and say, I use the pink car as my symbol because I found that that was the most unique one. And like I said before, in my office, I have a huge collection of pink cars now that people just send me. Oh my God, I ran out of room. You know?
That's so funny. I'm afraid we are at the end of the show now. And Monica, do you have any final thoughts? And could you give us a little hint what the next week's show and the lesson is going to be about?
I always have a lot to talk about, Inessa. You know me.
Oh, I do.
Okay, what we're going to get into next week is we're going to get into color therapy, sound therapy, chanting. We'll look at all these things specifically, because when we go into color therapy, we're also going to be looking at the power of crystals and how the power of crystals can serve us or not. Remember what I said? Clear crystals, if you're in a bad mood, don't even carry one with you. A lot of people buy jewelry with crystals in it, and they use them at the wrong time. So, yeah, we'll cover those things, and I'll probably add a few more little things. I don't know. Depends on what mood I'm in. Maybe I'll show you some other things. I always got a lot of tricks up my sleeve. Well, tricks, what I mean is tools.
I like the to be spontaneous, so that's nice.
Well, today was a lot of fun, and anyone that needs any of the material, please do me a favor and just email me by going to my website, monica.com, Monica with 2 N's, and just email me from there, and I'll send you the materials that I used today. And that's easy. Monica888@yahoo.com is my email address. And I'd like to find out from some of you how you did in some of these lessons, when you did the tests, some of your results, and I that would be the best way for me to get feedback from you. Don't you think?
Yes, I do think so. Monica, we are running out of time, and I think it's time to wrap it up. But we'll see you again next Saturday, same time, same place. Thank you so much, and thank you for your calls. Please remember to visit monica.com. That's Monica with 2 N's. If you couldn't get through tonight, please do try again next week. Good night.